Welcome, everybody, to 5 Tips in 5 Minutes and Rediscovering Your Greatness Within. Women's talks, tips, and techniques for empowerment, courage, and purpose. I'm Mitta Wise, your host, holistic practitioner, author, and entrepreneur living in Los Angeles, originally from New Zealand and often found in India. Today, we have another special guest, and her name is Tammy Dunnett. And Tammy is a leadership and communication coach and a survivor of workplace bullying. Welcome, Tammy.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, and where are you zooming in from today?
Zooming in from Alberta in Canada.
Whoa, that's great, exciting. Look, I'm really glad to have you on, Tammy, because I think this is a super important topic. I think leadership and communication, of course, is super important. And being a survivor of workplace bullying, and I know you share a lot of your tools and everything, in your coaching in that arena as well. So super important. And I'm really happy to have you share your tips today. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to start the clock.
Okay. So, my 5 tips. When I thought of rediscovering your greatness, I immediately thought of like through the trauma journey of recovering from workplace bullying, because often we feel like we've lost it. So, here's my 5 tips with that lens in mind. And the first one is slow down and notice. Slow down and notice what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what your body is telling you, and just be aware. So often we get so fast and we get triggered and we're reactive and we don't slow down to understand what does it mean. So the second tip is when you do slow down and you notice, like for example, the other day I was noticing my hands were so tight, clasping each other, and I didn't even notice that it had happened. But when I noticed that they were so tight and clasped, I'm like, ooh, tip number 2 was question. What's going on here? What is my body trying to tell me? In this case, it was, what am I feeling afraid of? Or what am I feeling worried about? Because I needed to figure out how to release this tension. So notice what's going on, slow down to notice. And number 2, question what's underneath the feeling, the motion, the thought, the words. That will help you to uncover some new insights so that we're able to understand our bodies more. And then number 3 is to find a new thread to pull on. So what does that mean? As I'm sitting there, I'll use this example. So I'm sitting there like noticing that my hands are so tightly clasped together. And I start to question, what does this mean? I recognize I was talking about a specific incident of my bullying journey to somebody. And my body just seemed to remember and tighten up. So I start to question about, okay, what is it about this experience? That's the questioning. And then how can I uncover something new? I mean, slowing down even in that moment to go, what else was happening there that I didn't notice before? Or what's another thing that this might mean? Could it mean that I wasn't chosen? Or could it also mean that maybe somebody did chose me and they did something I didn't recognize back then, as an example? So uncover a new thread so you can pull on it. And then number 4 is don't be afraid to reframe the experience. What we tend to do is we feel something, we witness something, and we have a reaction, and we have a story as to what that means. And we can overlook that there might be other pieces of information here that will help us get a fuller picture or take a different meaning of that experience. I'll go back to the chosen. I was telling someone how I want to be chosen and I want to feel like I'm worthy enough of being protected and chosen to be protected. And when I slowed down in that moment, I realized that in fact, the person who was talking to me was revealing something I didn't know about my bully and was actually choosing me because they didn't have to tell me their insight about their experience with this person. But when they told me, they were actually choosing me. And so that new thread of insight going, oh, I was being chosen in that moment, not by the person I thought I should be chosen by, but somebody else. So what does that new thread look like as I explore it a little bit more? And then as I reframe that, I recognize my hands were starting to let go. So I'm noticing that, okay, this reframing is actually supporting me and it's making me feel better because now I see something I didn't see before. I was chosen. That was the reframe in that moment. I looked at another piece of information that was there that I overlooked and I explored it. That's the thread I pulled. And then the last tip, so I'll just summarize them quickly. Number one is slow down and notice what's going on. What are you thinking, feeling, seeing, doing? Question, get underneath the surface of that. What does this feeling mean? What does this body posture mean? What is it trying to tell me? So I can uncover some new insight. And then we're going to pull on that thread and explore it a little bit more. What truth did I miss? Then I'm going to reframe it and pick a truth or a storyline that fits me. And number five is to choose. Well, I guess that is number five. I led right into it. The reframe leads into the choosing of a storyline that's going to fit my healing journey or my recovering to my greatness. And I want to choose intentionally because I know I can go down the road of being not chosen. That's my default thinking, but I want to go back into my greatness. And I know there have been many moments when I was chosen. So now I get to choose that in my experiences. Those moments I'm going to focus on. Those are my 5 tips.
Great. Oh, I really like that. I love that one. The wording of that one, where you said you're going to find a new thread and you're going to pull on the thread. I love that. I haven't heard it said quite like that before. So that's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, Tammy. So thank you for sharing all those lovely tips, and the way you share them is really wonderful and indicative of your wonderful communication. So everyone, Tammy Dunnett's info is in the show notes, so make sure you visit her. Anything else you'd like to say before we wind up here?
I would just say every experience we have has an abundance of threads to look at it. Choose different ones every time and you will change the experience. So here's the summary. When you shift your perspective, meaning a thread, pull a different thread, you change the experience. And that's true for the past, the present, and the future. So go out there and create the greatness that you want.
Lovely. I love it. Thank you, Tammy, so much for coming on today and sharing your wisdom with us and your support. And that's it for this episode of 5 Tips in 5 Minutes. And we are signing off with love.